Today on the Home Winemaking channel, I'm going to show you how to turn your ordinary wine into a sparkling wine using a small keg. I've got a Concord wine here that I've already taken the time to back sweeten, stabilize, and it's pretty much ready to rock. And Concord wine, it's kind of a unique animal. I kind of treat it sort of like a cider, and the process that I'm using is going to be something you could also do to make a sparkling apple cider, pear cider, whatever you want to do. It's all really the same. Now, with our kegging kit came a CO2 tank and regulator, which is of course really important if you're going to carbonate a wine like this style, which is actually called forced carbonating. And it's kind of the way most store-bought sparkling wines or champagne style wines are carbonated. And until you get up into the really expensive stuff, it's really not going to be bottle fermented, which was the old traditional way to carbonate. But because you have a CO2 tank, you can actually use it to your advantage. So I've actually blanketed this wine. So I've racked it into a bucket to do my sweetening and stabilizing. And I've blanketed it with CO2, so I'm not so concerned about oxidation. And we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to connect our ball lock fitting to our torpedo keg so that we can fill it with a little bit of CO2 before we rack that wine into the keg. Now, before you do this, just make sure that the little valve here is turned off, because there's no lid on this keg. It's just going to blast CO2 uncontrollably if you don't have your valve off right now. I'm going to do something a little bit unique. I'm actually going to plug my CO2 tank into the out fitting instead of the in. And the reason I'm going to do that is I want to bubble that CO2 up through the wine, and this is only temporary just to get it carbonated. Now we can turn on our big valve on the tank, and I'm just going to go ahead and just burp a little CO2 into that keg. And I'm not going to get that carried away. I'm just trying to protect against, risk of any oxygen contact that's unneeded. And now we can go ahead and rack our wine into the keg. I've left about 2 inches of headspace in the keg. That'll give us a little bit of a nice bubble of CO2 to kind of work it down into that wine. And we're going to go ahead and secure the cap. Make sure to line your seal up good. And then we just press down. The pressure on our regulator is about 10 psi. That's an okay place to start. And we can go ahead and open our valve. You can hear the CO2 bubbling away into the keg. And then we're going to just turn it up a little bit, because we really want to carbonate this wine. So I can go a little bit above where I really want to serve the wine at. So we'll set it to about 13 psi. On the top of the keg is a little pressure relief valve, and we can use that to bleed a little bit of CO2 out and just make sure we purge any air or oxygen that might have been in there. All right, I feel pretty good about that. And then Before we set this away, we're going to just give it a little shake. And you can hear that CO2 bubbling up through, which is a good sound. And I'm going to shake it for, I don't know, 5 minutes or so until I sort of stop hearing it bubble like that. This will just kind of speed the process up a little bit. Now we're going to go ahead and put the keg into the fridge. This will help the CO2 dissolve into the wine, as CO2 dissolves better into cold liquids. It'll also get the keg to our proper serving temperature. If you don't have a fridge like this, you could just turn the pressure up a little bit, say 15 psi, and again let it sit for a week. And then you could bottle into champagne bottles, which I'll show you on a later video. We put the rest of our wine into a 3-gallon carboy just to store it for now, and we can decide if we're going to carbonate that or if I'm just going to bottle that still. And with the wine in the fridge, we're just going to wait about a week and should be all carbonated and ready to go. Make sure to click the subscribe button below if you like these kinds of videos, and click the bell to be notified for future videos. Coming soon, I'll make a video about how to bottle a sparkling wine like this without losing too much foam. Thanks for watching.